Hello friends, AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink. I haven't posted in a bit. I haven't been feeling well, but getting back into it. And I'm really excited for this video. This is part of a hop for Waffle Flower's March 2022 release. And Waffle Flower just released these new shader brushes. You can get them in packs of, there's 4 different sizes. You can get them in packs of 10 of each size. There's also a sampler pack where you can get 1 of each size, like I'm showing here. And one of the things I was kind of excited about was when I got them, I was like, oh, they fit perfectly in my little brush holder containers, also from Waffle Flower. I need to get a couple more of these. I only have 2 right now. They come in packs of 2. I'm going to get a couple more because I'll have a container for each size of little brushes. So we've got the size 0, which is the little tiny ones. And then there's size 1, there's size 2, and size 3. 0 and 1 are like kind of rounded, and they all have a tapered edge. And then the 2 and 3 are kind of long and thin, also with a tapered edge. And then in these brush holders, I've shown them in a previous video when they first came out like a while ago. They've got little scallops on them. They're made of the same silicone that Waffle Flower's like media mat that I'm going to show here, as well as the stencil mats are made out of. And they've got the little scallops. You can like balance a brush on it, a pen, etc. And then the bottoms of them have those little square sort of nubs. So they fit in the water media mat wells, which is also a nice little perk. And then the other thing that this is how I keep mine stored, is they actually fit perfectly in the IKEA picture ledge. I don't remember just off the top of my head what the name of these picture ledges are, but you guys know what I mean. These ones that I have in my wall, there's something really satisfying about the brush holders, fitting so perfectly. So that's just my random initial thoughts when I first got them. Now I'm going to actually use them. So I die cut just white cardstock using the new layering Tulips wafer dies from this Waffle Flower release. I have other tulip wafer dies as well as tulip stamps. Do not be surprised if I start posting like tons of tulip themed cards this time of year, especially here. It is cold. We got way more snow again. And I love tulips. Like, I love them so much. I can never have enough tulips, just like everything else. You guys know me. I'm a broken record. It's like, I can never have enough of anything. Anyway. So I die cut all the layers from white cardstock. And then I use my regular blending brushes to blend the first layer of color, which was just a light green. I'm using all of Simon's like Pawsitively saturated inks for this, and I'll link to everything as always. And then I'm using the little shader brushes. I used the size 2 to add just the medium color to kind of the centers of these leaves. And then I used the size 1, so the more rounded one, to add the darkest kind of green. And again, this is like my first time using these. I was just kind of playing around. I knew I would like them, but I was like, like they're cool. Honestly, I love them. I was having so much fun with this, and I didn't even start stenciling with them. Like, I didn't use any stencils, but I was like, I am going to love these, especially the little round ones are going to be so nice for stencils, because the amount of times I'm like, oh, it'd be so perfect to like fill in this little berry area with a little bit of color, but all my blending brushes are too big, all of them. So I'm quite enjoying these. And also there's just something like the size of the handles, like Nina from Waffle Flower thought of everything. I found these really comfortable to hold, and I loved them. Anyway, with the actual tulips themselves, I did the same thing. I used my like full size blender brushes to add the lightest bit of color. And then I went in and added detail again with the shader brush 2 size. So it's like thin and kind of wide, and then it has like a little bit of tapered edge. So with all of these brushes, they are not designed to swirl. Like, they're not blender brushes, they're shader brushes. So you just kind of drag them. And I don't know why, again, I just found it really satisfying. It was like kind of the same feeling you get when you're coloring, but this involved no coloring. So if you don't like coloring at all, consider these little brushes. Because, you know, adding some color with blender brushes and then using these little shaders to add detail and whatnot, I just found it a very satisfying experience. Like, I just sat and blended on all these die cuts and was quite happy with myself. So I used all 3 colors again on the tulips to add detail, and those will soften a little bit, like everything will, as the ink dries. And then the little stamens for the flower centers, I left those little die cuts in like the cardstock. Makes it so much easier to add color. But again, these little brushes, I was really enjoying how I was able to quickly color little tiny die cuts with them, because even leaving them in the cardstock, when I'm using larger brushes, you can't really see what you're doing. You know what I mean? So the next set of coloring I die cut the white cardstock using the new Snail trio dies. I love them. I was so excited to get them. All of this I would have purchased anyway. But these snails, the minute I saw them, I was like, these are the cutest things ever. So I die cut them, and then the bodies I did in aqua colors, because why not? And I used just the shader brushes to add color to these because they're narrow and small, and there was no point using a big, proper blending brush. So I did the same thing. I added the lightest color first, and then I added a bit of the medium color here and there. And then I went in with my darkest color, which is Simon's Ocean Positively Saturated ink. And you could tell, like, that one is saturated. So I blended it out here and there with the brush I was using for the medium color. But I loved that I was able to go in and add, like, to their little, like, antennae, whatever, just add, like, a little darker color to that. And then I even took the little size 0 little tiny brush and added a bit of pink to their little cheeks. Love it. Love it. So just had a merry old time doing this. And then for the actual shells, I used a regular blender brush again. Went around with my lightest shade. This time I'm doing browns. So just added the color first with that. And then I took the largest of the shader brushes. This is the size 3. And I just, again, like I was just playing around. But I was like, I wonder if I kind of like drag the brush in a circular motion, see what it does. So I kind of created a swirl on these little shells with that brush. So I don't know. I was just having fun. Also, with all these brushes, I personally am more than happy with one set of each. I plan on, because you get 10 brushes per set, and so that's like kind of enough for like the rainbow, along with like one for black and one for brown, etc. And I personally, that's more than enough for me. With my big blender brushes, I do have more than one set, because I keep a set for oxides and pigment inks, and a set for dye inks, because I don't want to contaminate my ink pads. But with these brushes, because they're so small, I don't feel a need to have 2 sets of everything like I do with everything else. These, I plan on swirling them on my cloth to clean them in between if I'm going to switch inks. And I don't think they're going to like harm anything. It's different with the bigger ones because, you've got larger surface area. There's a chance you could transfer the inks, yada, yada, yada. But with these small guys, I think I'm going to be more than happy with the sets I've got, and I'll have no problem switching between just by swirling them, because they're little. And if I really felt like it, I could wash them, but I've said this before, I don't wash my brushes. That's why I have more than one set, because anywho, for my actual card layout, I used the Designer Template 1 wafer dies. I bought these not that long ago. They just showed up just the other day, and I was excited. I was like, oh, perfect. So I stamped one of the sentiments from the Snailed It stamp set. Again, love it. Punny, cute. Messed up this part on the inside. But like I said in a previous video, cardstock is double-sided. So I just folded the card over and did it again. Because the messed up one will just get covered up by the card front. Because I'm not going to waste the cardstock. So, it happens. So I stamped sentiments from that little set with some VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. And then before I actually got to like fully finishing everything. I had adhered all the die cuts. I didn't bother filming that because they just come together. Like, you stick the circle on the snail body and the swirl on the circle. It's pretty simple. And the tulips, same thing. Everything just comes together. So, as always, you could leave it here. But I wanted to add some texture. So I took some Copic markers and just added dots. Very simple. Doesn't have to be Copics. You can use water-based markers or whatever you got. I've got all the Copics. I'm going to use them. So I just added just little dots. Pressing. Sometimes pressing harder. Sometimes pressing later. So you get different sizes. And this was also my way of kind of adding splatter, because people have been commenting that. They're like, I miss you. We need splatter. Trust me, I thought about splattering like the whole card the whole time I was doing this. But in the end, decided not to. But to get around it, I added tons of dots. This is a way to add basically, consider it controlled splatter. You know where it's going. You don't got to worry about it. So for those that, are either hesitant or you're more of a control freak, because trust me, been there, this is a way around it. And it adds great texture. I really like doing this because it just gives an extra something to everything. So I adhered one of my little snails on the inside of the card. And then I built my little scene on this panel of white cardstock that I die cut with one of the other designer template 1 wafer dies, because there's several in the little set. It also has like Waffle Flowers provided like a bunch of little layouts and stuff. It's really cute. So I adhered my tulips, and then this little piece of, this was Nina Desert Storm cardstock that I die cut and then stamped with a sentiment from that Snailed It stamp set. I popped that up with some of Simon's Big Mama foam tape, and then I'm going to adhere my little snails to the card front here. And then once I've got those adhered into place, I'm going to cover the back of this panel with more of that Big Mama foam tape, because it's thin, but it gives me a bit of dimension. And as Laura Basson always says, dimension is life. So pop that onto the card front and covered up the oops. And then I'm going to add just some little enamel dots. No rhyme or reason. People ask me about that too. If that's a formula, kind of a formula in the sense of, you think triangles, odd numbers, but I also just slap them on wherever I think they look good. So I also inked up another sentiment from that Snailed It set. It was too perfect. And I'm going to stamp that on the flap of the envelope just to tie everything together because it's so cute. So that was my card and my random ramblings. Hopefully I made sense, you guys. My brain is just, mush. But like I said earlier, this is part of a hop. There's like inspiration. I'm actually really excited to see how everyone else uses these brushes as well, because I'm sure there's going to be fun ideas and just all the inspiration, all of that. So I will have links in my blog post. I'll have my blog linked directly below the video, along with the supplies, all that info. You can check that out below if you are interested. Thank you all so much for watching, subscribing, thumbs upping, commenting, all of it. I appreciate you guys so much, and I'll see you very soon in the next video. Bye.